No changes in race 2. The third race is the start of the early pick 5. The early pick 5 will be on races 3 through 7 with no program changes. Fourth race starts the early pick 4. And it's also the beginning of the pick 6 on races 4 through 9. No changes in the fourth. Late pick 5 starts with the fifth race. There are no changes. Sixth race starts the late pick 4, scratch number 5 contained. Race 6, scratch number 5 contained. In the seventh race, scratch number 7 just right. Race 7, scratch number 7. No changes in the eighth. In the ninth, scratch numbers 13 and 14, the also eligibles. Those are the early changes on opening day. Enjoy your afternoon here at Belmont Park. Post time for the first race is at 2:05 p.m. Coming up next, it's Talking Horses with the Big A, Anthony Stabile and David Aragona.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to opening day here at beautiful Belmont Park, talking horses. I'm the Big A, Anthony Stabile. David Aragona, blast from the past. We were figuring this out the other day. March 8th, the last day of racing, right?
Yeah.
Back in 2020.
Final day of racing before the pandemic-induced hiatus. I think I was on with you that day, and it's been until now. So it's great to be back, and it's great to kick off the Belmont meet.
Yes, great to see you. Great to be back at beautiful Belmont Park, the Fall Championship meet, 28 days of world-class racing. Got a lot of great action coming up for you. We have a 9-race card today, kick off the meet. Fresh pick 6, couple of pick 5s, and of course, a couple of jumpers to wet your whistle to kick off this Fall Championship meet. Play all of the action at one place, and that's over at Naira Bets. Match 200. That's your promo code, match 200. Keep the money in the game. Go to nairabets.com to open a brand new Naira Bets account. Again, that promo code is match 200. It's opening week here at Belmont Park. 20% bonus. Just bet Belmont Park opening week, and on all doubles, there'll be 8 or 9, 10 of them a day, depending on the day of the week this week. Earn 20% bonus on all doubles. Again, you got to opt into all of our promotions now. Opt in on the website or on your mobile app. Head over to nairabets.com for more details. And of course, we have you covered. Some Belmont, some Churchill Downs. They have a 5 o'clock start today, part of their Twilight Series. So we start at 2:05. They start at 5. America's Day at the Races. Catch all of the action today. FS2 from 2 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I noticed yesterday that we're creeping closer to sunset before 7 o'clock. I think we're 2 or 3 days away. And, when we come back from Saratoga, of course, this is our first day back from Saratoga after a little bit of a break in the action. Kind of feel like the summer flies away when you're up at the old spa and you come back to autumn in New York.
No, you take those longer days for granted. And I mean, it was like dark at 7:15 the other night. I was like, what's happening? But yeah, the summer is fleeting, and but it's great to be back at Belmont. And it's an abbreviated Belmont meet, a little shorter these days, but we've got plenty of stakes action packed in. A good day of racing coming up this Saturday, and really looking forward to the second race today. This first Grade 1 of the meet, that jump race, the Lonesome Glory.
You called your shot on Twitter a few weeks ago, saying he wanted this. David said he wanted to see the Mean Queen versus Snap decision.
I got my wish.
He'll get that at right around 2:38 this afternoon. All right, let's kick it off with the William Entenmann Memorial Hurdle. This is a restricted hurdle race, 2.25 miles over the jumps, and we have a field of 7 set to go to the post. Some familiar faces. Where'd you land in here, David?
My picks in this race are 5, 3, 6, 1. I mean, I think we have to start the conversation with the 2 horses that are coming out of those Grade 1s at Saratoga. Baltimore Bucko, who won the AP Smithwick, and French Light, both from the Kerry Bryan barn. He placed in both of those Grade 1s at Saratoga, finishing just behind Baltimore Bucko each time. While it seems like a gigantic class drop coming out of Grade 1s into this novice hurdle stakes, those Grade 1s that we saw this summer at Saratoga, probably not of the quality that we saw in the past past. I mean, there weren't any of like the top jumpers. Certainly Snap Decision was missed in those races. We'll see him coming up the next time. I would say the last one, the Jonathan Shepard, was a stronger race with the Mean Queen being in there. But they're definitely the two horses to beat in this race. I think it's just a question of how much of an edge do they really have over this field.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. We both took little chances against them. You with a bit of a fresh face, me with a familiar face.
Yeah, I was just trying to look for some interesting angles in this race, and I landed on the number 5, Basmachi, who's making his first start in the United States, coming over from France. And if you're looking at the small career box in the upper right hand of the racing form, just note that that's an error. I think there's some data that's not being calibrated correctly. Actually, all 6 of this horse's last races, his 6 most recent races, have all come over the jumps. So he's actually a winner over the hurdles back in March, and he actually faced some pretty good horses in France. Those 2 stakes races, both 3 and 4 back, faced some good fields there. The winner of the race 3 back, Marc Dutour, I was looking him up. He came back and was second in a Group 1 hurdle in France after that. So I think this horse actually has some really strong class lines. And Leslie Young is a jump trainer. You can look up her statistics, or the statistics of all of these trainers in DRF Formulator. She actually has an ROI of $5.25 in NYRA jump races over the past 5 years. So she can get some long shots to win.
Comes to play.
Yeah.
I think that's what that says, right?
For
Like you said, with that ROI, long shots in this horse will certainly be enough of a price to take a little swing. I went the same way with Booby Trap. Look, like you said, Baltimore Bucko, French Light, they are obviously the 2 to beat in here. But Booby Trap, perfect 2 for 2 after being pulled up strides into a quarter of a mile into the first jump try. There were no blinkers that day. The blinkers went back on. 2 really powerful efforts, one down at Colonial Downs, one up at Saratoga. I went with the horse on the 2-race win streak. Going to be, I would guess, a similar price to the horse you picked. Both just trying to take stabs, but obviously Baltimore Bucko and French Light come in with the class for the Bill Entenmann Memorial Hurdle. All right, the big one on the card today, we kick off the Grade 1 action at the Fall Championship meet with the Lonesome Glory handicap. And that Grade 1, again, going to go with 2.5 miles over. Are they still national fences? Remember when Tom used to talk?
That's what it's, yeah, national fences. It says it in the conditions.
So over the national fences. And this is it. My man called his shot weeks ago. He wanted to see the Mean Queen versus Snap Decision, and he gets it 2 races in to this Belmont opening day.
Yeah, I was disappointed when I saw after Snap Decision won the Iroquois that the Connection said they were going to skip the jump races in Saratoga. I know that they were a little concerned about all of these races in New York being handicaps and the weight just piling up by the time they got to this race. So they skipped those 2. Snap Decision is still giving some weight to the rest of the field. Actually, he and the Mean Queen, the 2 protagonists in this race, are giving up a lot of weight to the rest of these. But seems like they deserve to, because they're 2 pretty talented hurdlers.
The way the Snap Decision's been going, maybe it would be fair if I rode him this afternoon. I mean, 9 for 11 with a couple of seconds. The Mean Queen was impressive in the Jonathan Shepard, but I mean, you just take the consistency of Snap Decision, and and I'm sure you do too. When you look at Snap Decision, I still see some of the black and cherry red. So that allegiance from when I was a 12-year-old kid to Easy Goer is always going to play a little bit of a factor in a coin flip like this seems to be with the Mean Queen.
No, I believe his dam traces back to Personal Ensign, I want to say. So, I mean, it's cool to see those bloodlines coming through in a horse that's a jump star. But, I mean, he's going for his 10th victory in a row. And, I mean,
amazing.
We know how difficult it is to win 10 races in a row on the flats. And so much can go wrong in these jump races. You have to negotiate all the hurdles, handle the distance, varying types of courses at those smaller circuits and at race course circuits like this. So, I mean, just amazing what he's done. He's going for his 2nd Group 1 in a row. I'm really looking forward to see how these 2 stack up against each other. Obviously, the Mean Queen has that recency edge, having just won the Jonathan Shepard at Saratoga.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really talk about anybody else. I guess Amshell comes in 2nd to Snap Decision, 3rd to Snap Decision, most recently in the Iroquois. But it would be very difficult to see one of these 2 not winning.
Yeah,
Lonesome
it's
Glory.
supposed to play out like a match race on paper. I mean, Amschel did get kind of close to snap decision last time, but if you watch the replay of that race, snap decision was a pretty easy winner. Always looked like he had the victory in hand. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two match up on the racetrack.
Did we take a look at the Mean Queen? Did we ever see the Mean Queen? Let's see the Jonathan Shepard, just to give this young lady a little bit of love. And who wouldn't want to go back to Saratoga, even though we just got home. Some of us a little earlier than others. There it is. And now, and this filly's not without a little controversy as well. She was home to Rome 2 starts back.
No, for people who are not aware, she was on her way to about an 8-length victory in the Jonathan Kaiser, and then I think just got a tap of the whip that she didn't appreciate, and dumped her jockey Thomas Garner, who came back and rode her to victory in this Jonathan Shepard that we're looking at. You can see from that replay, she always looked like she was a winner of that race. Yeah. She just traveled well throughout, but she's facing a really nice horse in snap decision, and I think we also have a replay of the Iroquois that he won last time out.
We do.
I mean, he was just, a horse who handled 2 3/4 miles, so turning back to the 2.5 miles over a flat course, a regular racetrack style course, shouldn't be any problem for him. And as you can see, Amschel is trying to chase him home here, but snap decision just always looked like he had this victory in hand, and just kind of hands and heels to the wire.
Hands and heels, yes. All snap decision, going over that final fence. And yeah, it'll be fun to watch these two go at it this afternoon. I'd like to see them hook up at some point. I think it would be a nice little way to kick off the meet. All right, first flat race of the meet. We go to race number 3. The early pick 5 will start here in race number 3. No pick 5s or pick 4s with the jump races, but pick 3, and you got that that 20% bonus double on the jumps as well. Race 3. Going to go to the main track, flat mile. We'll kick off the dirt action and the flat action with these 25-2 life claimers.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they bet this race. It's one where I thought it was really difficult to trust anybody. I thought just maybe the public might gravitate towards connections and make Orb in the Tower the slight favorite in this race. He was facing much better horses in his 2 prior dirt starts, both against the maiden special weight New York bred company, Big Bobby. Was a pretty nice horse who hasn't yet broken through allowance company, but he's run some nice speed figures for that level. And Orb in the Tower just looked like he needed that race coming off the layoff. I'm not sure that it was so much the turf that woke him up last time as just the class relief, because that was not a strong field, and he just got the job done and handled the extra distance.
Yeah, but he's so, with that said, and I know he can improve off the dirt races, but he's a tough horse to take at a short price, isn't he?
No, because he's going to get bet off a turf race, and because it's not like he's got speed figures that necessarily make him the horse to beat in this race. They'll just be betting connections. The horse that has the speed figures is the number 3, Good Culture, who we both have in there somewhere, but not our top pick. I just don't see a whole lot of pace in this race, and I worry about a horse who's an established deep closer who has gotten paces in his 2 prior starts. I just worry about him working out the right trip.
Agreed. Yeah, I put him second in here just based on his figs, but it's hard to imagine him pulling any kind of a real trip. Maybe the extra 1/8 of a mile is the great equalizer for him coming out of a pair of 7/8 races. All right, you went to the rail, Coach Bahi.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to trust this horse coming off the claim because, he's been in some sharp barns in the past coming out of the Phil Bauer stable. But, I mean, if you want the horse with back class, this horse has a ton of it. I mean, he ran in the Rebel behind Nadal once upon a time. They've tried to sprint him recently. I'm not sure that I really think he is a sprinter. I like him going a little bit longer. And in those 2 prior races at Churchill Downs, the last couple times that he was on fast tracks, he just faced fields that were much better than these at the $50,000 level. We saw Osser, I think, raced in New York once before. Yep. Handy raced in Saratoga. Those are just significantly classier horses than what he faces here. And, if you look at the Time Form US pace projector for this race, with the blinkers going on, I would imagine this horse is going to be on the lead. The pace projector has him on the lead in a situation favoring the horse that's going to be the leader. So I just think if Manny Franco sends him to the front, maybe he can take them gate to wire.
And if it's not him, I think the speed's my top pick, Breaking Stones, who also gets a pair of blinkers. He was sitting right off a really fast pace when he broke his maiden 2 starts back. We didn't see him for a couple of months. Pat Reynolds sent him 2 turns at Saratoga. He just simply got tired late, cuts back to the mile. Again, he should be laid up close to what does not figure to be a quick early pace. And I just landed there hoping that he can work out a trip in the 2 or the 3 holes, see what Coach Bahi does, see what Papa Jimmy does as well. I think Breaking Stone's probably faster than him. I think you or I, our top pick, one of them will be on the front end. And I think they'll probably decide it unless Good Culture comes up with a race, or like you said, Orb in the Tower was just an improving type, and the surface was regardless last time.
Yep.
We shall see as we kick off again. The early pick 5 starts in race 3 this afternoon here at Belmont Park. Race number 4 will kick off the first pick 6 of the meet. Maiden's going to go 3/4 of a mile on the Widener turf course here. And as usual, the maiden races here appear to go through Chad Brown. He has the number 2 crowding out. The second choice on the David's line at 5-2. And the favorite Split Then Double, who we'll see right here back on June 3rd during the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. Your 2-1 morning line favorite, just missing by a head this day.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't quite get the job done here, but I thought this was a really good effort by her. She was a little bit awkwardly out of the gate, was a little farther back than I would imagine Flavian Pratt, who was riding her this day, wanted her, but she took a good run at these through the stretch and almost got there, and I think it's no disgrace losing to a horse like Star Command, who came right back to win on the dirt, and I think she subsequently won on the turf as well. Turned out to be a pretty good horse for Shug McGahee, and Split Then Double came out of this race to, at that same 1 mile distance, finish behind Rastafara and Ego Trip, 2 horses who are just much better than what she's facing here. So I think that she's the one who has the class advantage, and some people might not like turnbacks like this on the turf, but Chad Brown actually has pretty good stats doing this with maidens, going from rounds to sprint on the turf over the past 5 years. That's a solid percentage, and they go off at decent prices. Not that this one's going to be a big price, but if she's around 2-1, I think that's fair, and I thought she was the horse to beat. I just thought she looked like she had come out of better fields than crowding out.
Yep. So you put the 2 Chads 2-3, and you decided to go with the Jonathan Thomas first, the Lilac Girl.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. It's a little bit of a guess because both of the Chad Brown runners, they do have established form, so Lilac Girl would have to be pretty good if she's going to beat both of them. But I like this pedigree. The Dam was stakes placed on the turf. She's actually already produced a turf winner, and that turf winner was sired by Union Rags, who is not a positive turf influence, to say the least. And this filly is by Quality Road, so you'd imagine this one has a greater turf inclination. And I just saw one of the workouts on XBTV. I think it was the work 3 back, the 4 furlong drill and 50 flat. Just liked the way she moved. She had a really nice balanced stride, and the turf workout subsequently. That's a pretty solid time around the dogs at the Oklahoma track. So I imagine this one has a little bit of ability, and Jonathan Thomas does a great job across the board and can certainly win with a firster.
Yeah, you and I pretty much saw this race kind of the same. Put the firster in the mix. You put her on top. I went to the other Chad, crowding out, who, like you said, Split Then Double on the cutback. Crowding out's just been a sprinter. Got beat just 3/4 of a length first time out behind Barnmate Strafe. Then last time, I know a lot of people are discouraged by this. Chad Brown kept the horse in and off the turf race and ran the horse on the dirt. But she has enough dirt pedigree to give her an opportunity. 7-horse field, you're at Saratoga, you're trying to win races up at the Spa. You give her every chance. It was her first start.
She was the 8-5 favorite, so why not take a shot?
Right, first start in 3.5 months. And at the very least, it serves as a prep for when you get back to Belmont Park. And here she is. She was forward in both of her races. I would imagine she's going to be forward again in here. Red Ortiz Jr. Has to get her in the game early. The other horse that's going to take money in here is Ogotten Girl, and quite frankly, she's getting back to the turf after 3 dirt races. The last 2 dirt races not awe-inspiring, to say the least. I don't know what to do with her. I kind of feel like I'm just fed up with her already. She's had so many chances.
I really don't know what to make of her. I mean, at first I thought that she was more of a dirt horse. Then she ran surprisingly well on the turf in a few races last year. They brought her back on the dirt this year. I didn't like that she was unable to make the lead last time because I know 21-4 and 44-4 seems really fast, but the 6.5 furlong race at Saratoga tend to play a little quicker, and I just thought she was just a little dull in that return, and she'd have to get back to one of her better races to win here, and I just didn't quite trust her to do it.
Well, I'm with you. I put her fourth, really, quite frankly, because there was nowhere else to go. Again, race 4 kicks off today's pick 6 here at Belmont Park. Race number 5, back to the main track. Maiden 52-year-old filly's going to go 3/4 of a mile. Let's head down the shore, appropriately down the shore. Frank Ramadi filling in for Johnny I. Johnny I, hope you're feeling well. Gabriella's Miracle. We'll go to Monmouth Park. We're going to go to Monmouth not once but twice. Here's Gabriella's Miracle, trying to get the job done back on September 3rd.
Yeah, I wanted to show this replay because she's got the best fig coming in, and it's one of these situations where the comment is steadied at the 16th, and I suppose that's true. I thought it was maybe a little bit of an acting job by the rider here. It was a pretty inconsequential steady. I mean, she finished second. She was never going to be closer to the horse that won this race, who was just better than her. While it is a drop from maiden special weight into this $50,000 maiden claimer, I think it's more of a lateral move for these horses coming from Monmouth, because those are not the top tier maiden special weight races that we see on the East Coast. She's, I suppose, a contender here in a wide open race. I wanted to go in a different direction, though.
Yeah, I did too. She's shipping in. I know the one race she was in one of those restricted $45,000 or less at auction races up at Saratoga, and now she's dropping in for the 50. The two races she comes out of, the 50 is probably where she belongs,
yes,
based on those two performances. You went to Affalata.
Yeah, I went to a first-time starter here. I just kind of had trouble latching on to those that already had form, and Jorge Abreu certainly knows how to win with a first-time starter. I didn't send in this stat, but he can also do it in maiden claiming races with debuters in maiden claiming races over 5 years. He's 6 for 26, 23% with a $3.23 ROI. So he does this well, and I watched some of this filly's workouts on XBTV. Doesn't look like she's a superstar, but she can run a little bit. She's outworked an older turf horse in the barn, and just looked like she has a tiny bit of ability, and I think that's all you're going to need to be able to win this race, because some of the others that could take money, like Amazing Dream, I just wasn't sure that I was quite convinced of the ability that she has.
We got a stat for Amazing Dream as well, if you want to put that up, Francisco. This is Todd Pletcher.
It's a small sample, 2-year-olds maiden special weight to maiden claiming in their second starts in dirt sprints, but I wanted to highlight this stat because though he's 2 for 9, 7 of the 9 horses in this sample went off at odds of 9 to 5 or less.
Wow.
So for only 2 to win, it's not a strong showing with these types of horses. And Amazing Dream, I mean, we don't really know what she is. I mean, she got an 8 buyer in her debut, just was pretty uncompetitive. Jerry Mander did come out of that race to run significantly better in her second start. And, watching some of this horse's recent workouts, it does seem like Amazing Dream is training much better out of that race, but they're still dropping in for the tag. And I don't know. I thought she would take money in here with Louis Saez getting aboard, and I didn't want the favorite.
Yeah, I didn't want her either. I went to Saratoga Kisses, the horse coming out of the special weight state bred races. She tried turf last time. Obviously, that didn't work. Her 2 dirt races, Miss Laracity, has been okay. I don't know, just a little bit of a drop. Gets her at Ortiz Jr. I know I'm going to lose some price there, but I didn't have a strong feel for this race. Obviously, in a race like this, you're going to use a horse like your top pick, Affalata, for the simple fact that if she can run at all, she's going to be a major player in here.
Yeah, the one other horse in here that I gave a long look to that I thought about picking and ultimately went away from was the number 5 Primadella, and I think we have a replay of the start of her last race at Monmouth. I just want to show it because, the comment says bump checked, and you can see how severe that is, where she just kind of gets knocked off stride at the start, and it really costs her a good 3 or 4 lengths. And she did make a bit of a run into the race after that, but she didn't quite finish it off once they got past the 8th pole. So, given the competition she was facing last time, I still would have liked to see her overcome this poor start a little bit, but you can see she really gets slammed there, and that cost her about 3 lengths at the start of the race. I do think that this is the appropriate level for her as well, kind of like Gabriella's Miracle, and she'll be a better price, so she's one that I would include in the mix somewhere.
All right, she is 6 to 1 on the morning line. An interesting race 5. This kicks off the late pick 5 as well as the Grand Slam. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll kick off the late pick 4 with race number 6.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Welcome back to the opening day edition of Talking Horses here at beautiful Belmont Park on the Big A Anthony Stabile. David Aragona filling in for Andy Serling, who will be back tomorrow. Late pick 4 time at Belmont in race number 6. Back to the turf, the Widener, optional 80, A other than. Got some replays here. Let's go to Saratoga. And let's go to one of the worst beats I took of the meet at Saratoga back on July 17th. Misspell. And this is back when Chad Brown could do no right up at the old spa right before the run began. You see her in the Peter Brandt double greens, and she's going to do something here, David, that a lot of Chad Brown horses don't do. She's going to make the lead and get gunned down late in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad beat in the sense that every nose loss is a bad beat for you if you bet that horse, but it's not a bad beat in the sense that she had an excuse, because Irad Ortiz did everything right in this race. He saved ground, peeled her out, got her to the front end at the right time, and Third Draft just ran by her. Now, it turns out that Third Draft is actually a pretty good horse.
Yeah.
She came back and was a good second, I believe, in the risk-averse next time out, so she's kind of validated the form of that race. Misspell was disappointing last time in the race at Woodbine, that Grade 3 event, the Ontario Colleen, because she was bet down to 8-5 favoritism and just never really picked up through the stretch. It was not the quickest pace in the world, but still, I would have liked to see her show some more punch in the stretch of that race. And, now she's got to repeat that Saratoga effort against some horses in here who appear to have some ability.
Yeah, she was in close enough contact to that field where if she was able to put in a little bit of a run, like the one she put in at Saratoga, she probably would have got the money.
Yeah.
She was flat to the boards. It was not a good effort for certain. Filly that's put in a couple of nice efforts, but taking up a little bit of a step in class, even though she is kind of stakes face with those Stallion Series races. The number 6 Sport model for Christophe Clement. Here she is winning the second of 2 consecutive Stallion Series events. One here at Belmont, this one around the 2 turns at Saratoga.
Yeah, I think we feel similarly about this. I think this is a step up in class for her, even though she's coming out of those stakes races. I mean, she beat the same horse in both of these victories the last 2 times, Fun While It Lasted. And Fun While It Lasted, I think, came back to finish 11th in the Virginia Oaks out of this against some actual open company stakes horses. So I'm just not sure that Sport Model really classes up with these. I also don't know that, I really love her going the mile distance, even though she got the job done last time under a perfect ride from Irad Ortiz. I think she might find herself a little bit exposed against open company here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And the funny thing is, that fig is one of the highest figs. It might be the highest fig in the field, actually.
I think after Misspell's 82,
after Misspell's 82,
yeah.
So there's a chance she takes some money. I put her third, but I don't have a lot of confidence that she's going to be able to take this step up in class. But look, she rides a 2-race win streak, and the fact of the matter is, she's won 2 in a row. She's the only horse in here that's won 2 in a row.
Yep.
She comes in off a couple of decent efforts. Maybe she can get a piece of this. Lady Petrol, second time for Chad Brown, stretching out is where you landed. Juicy price on your morning line too at 8-1.
Yeah, I had trouble kind of latching on to either of the favorites here. We'll get to Messidor in a second. So I wanted to go in a different direction. I actually like Chad Brown's other horse, Lady Petrol, who I know comes in a little bit light on the speed figures, but keep in mind, her first 3 races were as a 2-year-old, and horses just tend to run slower as 2-year-olds. When she was in the Mark Casse barn up at Woodbine, she made her first start for Chad Brown last time back in June at Belmont, and I thought she ran deceptively well in that race. For 6 furlongs, that was an extremely slow pace, and Honeypans actually ran great to overcome it and get up to win that race. But that was a much stronger race than I think the speed figure indicates, because Too Sexy came back to win at Saratoga. Time Limit, who was 3rd, came back to win at Saratoga. The 4th place finisher, Miss Dracaris, came back to win by, I think, 6 lengths at Monmouth in her next start. So that's a race that has been very strong from a form standpoint, and Lady Petrol just had no chance to get involved given how slowly they went up front. And I was looking at Trackus numbers. She actually came home her final quarter mile in 22-1, so she was really motoring at the end of that race, just couldn't make an impact because they went so slowly up front. So I don't mind her stretching out to the mile. Chad Brown actually has good statistics with stretch outs with non-maidens, so I think that she could make some noise here at a price.
Yeah. This is the kind of race where I think you and I are on the kind of the same page. Misspell can win. You have a bad taste in your mouth from the Woodbine race, and after that, there are a couple of horses. I went to Messidor, second time this country, first time Christophe Clement gets the Lasix now. Was probably in over ahead in the Saratoga Oaks Invitational. Now falls into an A other than. You'll notice she's won twice. One of those races was for less money than would qualify for the condition, so that's why she's able to run in this race. Keep that in mind. You'll see that every now and then, especially when they ship over from Europe from some of the smaller tracks. The purse money is just not that big. And I'm just hoping that the class relief, Lasix, getting Joel Rosario is the recipe and first-time Christophe Clement is the recipe to get her into the winner's circle. But I think you can make a case for her. You can make a small case for Sport Model, certainly for Lady Petrol. You have Adelaide Miss in there, and it's good to see Kendra Carmouche's name back on the Naira entries.
Yeah, I know he rode some races out of town over the past week and a half or so, but this is his first day back riding in New York, so great to see him back. He's always a welcome addition to the jockey colony here. And Messidor, yeah, I just wasn't sure what to make of her. I wanted to see her do a little more running last time, but, I mean, that was such a tougher spot than this, and I think the mile and 3/16 distance probably exposed her stamina a little bit because she was more of a 7 furlong to a mile type in Europe prior to that. I wouldn't be shocked by her at all. I just thought that the fact that Joelle was riding for Christophe might take some money her way, and I wanted to go in a different direction.
A wide open way to kick off the late pick 4, race number 6, that flat mile on the turf, back to the main track for the old hard knocking $40,000 claimers. They'll go 6 furlongs. This is kind of like going to the high school reunion, isn't it? You just see all your old friends. We'll start off with a horse that's near and dear to my heart. The first stakes winner I ever called in my life was this horse right here, Happy Farm. He won the 2019 Fall Highweight over at the Big A. And here he is back on May 13th, right here at beautiful Belmont Park, getting the job done, doing something he doesn't ordinarily do, David. He's going to pass a horse here and win from off the pace.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting what they've done with this horse since Irad Ortiz has been on in the last 2 times, both of those races for Rob Atras. They kind of changed around his running style a little bit, decided to come from a little off the pace, make him into a stalker. He responded well here, beating T Loves a Fight in Coppertown, 2 horses that are probably a little better than what he's facing in this race, but, you know, I don't totally trust this horse. He's moving down the class ladder a little bit. And the thing that was a red flag for me is they claimed this horse for $50,000 at the end of the Belmont meet. He was training in Saratoga, and they never made a start in Saratoga. It feels like the kind of horse that they would have claimed to run up there, and it just never happened. So feels like maybe there were minor setbacks that caused him to miss a little bit of time. Now he's coming back. But Linda Rice, she's left both halves of entry in, which I was a little surprised about. I thought she would probably scratch one. But you can see this stat, not exactly Linda's forte, first off the claim in dirt sprints. I mean, she wins at a decent percentage, but the horses typically don't run to the money they take.
And like you said, when David alluded to both of them being in, not only is Happy Farm in, this horse, Clench, who won the $20,000 race up at Saratoga last out. We can go to that replay, Francisco. In a common gallop, he just sat off the pace very early on, took over control, and that was it. This 2 for the price of 1 is going to take an awful lot of money, and I just don't think they're that reliable.
No, I mean, Clench especially is not that reliable because off his races 2 and 3 back, I mean, he's barely a contender in here, and obviously off his race last time, he could win this race and probably only be beaten by Happy Farm, who's the only one who has faster races than that, but I don't fully trust either of these horses, and like you said, when you've got an entry like this where both halves are potentially contenders, they tend to take more money than they really deserve to.
All right, you went to a horse that I liked a couple of starts back. I made some money, went in a slop. Al Cool's in here, who's a square price at 8-1 on the morning line. First time Chris Engelhardt.
Yeah, I liked him 2 back as well, so I wasn't that surprised when he ran so well, though obviously he took a big step forward that day. You know, if he runs back to that 87 buyer, and we're looking at the replay here, he's going to be tough for either half of the entry. Now, you could say, what happened last time? Well, I think there's a clear explanation. I mean, he was claimed by a barn that, let's just be honest, doesn't win at a very high rate around here. So I think it's interesting that the same owners who had him with Peter Miller 2 back have dipped back in to claim him back, and now they've given him to Chris Engelhardt. I don't know exactly what the relationship is there between Chris Engelhardt and Peter Miller.
Pretty sure he has. I'm pretty sure Chris has horses for these folks.
I believe so. So I think it's interesting that connections who owned this horse for a while and know this horse dip back in, claim this horse for $5,000 more, and now immediately move him up in class to the $40,000 level, which is a surprisingly confident move, especially for Chris Engelhardt, who's not a trainer who gets really aggressive like this typically. So I think all of that is a good sign, and you know, he could sit a decent stalking trip in this race. So I'd imagine he'd be a decent price in the 6 to 8-1 range if the entry takes the amount of money I think they will. So I want in his direction.
With Fox Red, who we both have third in this race, you have to imagine that whichever part of the entry goes, he's got to try and keep them company early on because his best running is done on the front end.
And I did not like the ride Fox Red got last time when he broke on top, was in a position to secure the lead, and his rider just seemed a little reluctant to kind of go with it, and he allowed Yodeleyehu to sneak up his inside and actually share the lead with him and get the rail, and Yodeleyehu went on to win that race, and Fox Red just kind of found himself in a stalking position that's not where he runs his best races. So I do think that Luis Saez will be much more aggressive on Fox Red this time. And, he definitely has the back races to be competitive. It's just, what do you do with the Safi Joseph horses? Because he had such a disappointing Saratoga meet. The barn's got to bounce back.
Yeah, barn, you would imagine. And the numbers at Aqueduct and Belmont were much better than the numbers up at Saratoga. So I think if you are a fan today of Fox Red, you are hoping you better be hoping that things get better than they were up at Saratoga. I wanted a horse that was going to come from off the pace. I don't have a strong opinion in here. I went with Motivation. I feel like he's got a little back class as well. He's probably been keeping a little bit, some decent company. You see the last race with Shoplifting and left me know. Even on the turf, the Critical Way and the Connector. He's not a turf horse, this horse, but he just kept a little bit better company. Dylan Davis had a great Saratoga meet. He's really riding exceptionally well, hoping that this horse can take advantage of maybe a little bit of a pace in here at a square price. But, playing a late pick 4, late pick 5, I'd be using all 1s, 3s, and some 6s.
No, I mean, you could say I left him out of my top 4, but I gave him a long look and considered putting him on top because there are just so many ways to go in this race, and he definitely has the back class. He just kind of has to resurrect his form.
If you want to swing against the entry in here, you got 3 or 4 places you really could go.
For sure.
You could go with Al Cool's Fox Red, Motivation, and another fun race, another interesting race. Those $40,000 claimers always put on quite a show. We'll see what happens in race number 7. Let's go to race 8, back to the turf. 1.25 miles for the older horses on the inner turf course here. Perjury Trap. Let's go to the P-Patch down to Ellis Park. And Perjury Trap can be part of a heavy favorite entry for Chad Brown and Klarovich stable.
Yeah, this is an entry that I'm a little bit annoyed by because Value Engineering is the one that looks more appealing on paper and is probably going to cause this entry to be a very short price. But if Perjury Trap were an individual betting interest in this race, I would have put him on top because this was a pretty impressive victory last time at Ellis Park. He just mowed this field down once he got into the clear lane. And Perjury Trap is a horse that always had ability. It's kind of amazing to look and see he was 7-1 last time. I don't know if they're not aware of Chad Brown's exploits down there, but he's had a couple of big prices that have done well at Ellis. But Perjury Trap, I mean, he always looked like the kind of horse that had that sort of potential to me, and he just never put it together last year. And I think the last race shows that maybe he's now heading in the right direction. So I like his chances in this race, and I actually would put him 1 slot ahead of Value Engineering. But with both of these horses being coupled, they're going to probably be odds on in this race. And that's just not the kind of entry that I want to take if I like Perjury Trap more.
Yeah, I couldn't get past them in here. I was the chalk-eating weasel. I thought one of these two were. I mean, they could probably run 1-2 in here. The only other horse that I thought was a little interesting, and we'll get to your top pick in a minute. Let's take a look at Summer to Remember. And this is Summer to Remember back last time out, just getting beat, by
Price Talk.
Yeah,
he's a pretty good horse. This is just a $50,000 claimer, but Price Talk was dropping in as well, coming out of some optional claiming and allowance races. And I mean, if he were running in here, he'd be a contender. So I guess you could say that maybe Summer to Remember is just an improved horse right now. And I mean, he's supposed to be able to control this race on the front end.
That was what I was thinking.
There's just no speed in here. I took the view that he still doesn't quite class up against these, and that loss to Caneños 3 back, going the 1.25 miles, kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and I thought he was benefited from circumstances last time when he also set a slow pace and finished so close to Price Talk. So I took a negative view of him, but I could see how you might say, he's just got too much of a pace advantage.
Yeah, I don't trust the rest of these horses necessarily. So if and Joel Rosario is one of the best at getting these horses to dole out their speed on the front end, and like you said, this horse is supposed to control. I really thought about putting him on top, but at the end of the day, like you said, it doesn't seem like he classes up to either part of the entry. And even some of the other horses in here, namely your top pick, Temple, who, on his best day, they're all running for second money on his best day.
Yeah, I feel like you could look at Temple and say, oh, well, he just doesn't want to win anymore. His form's gone sour. He didn't run well off the claim last time for Tom Morley. But I think you've got to kind of take apart his last 2 races a bit more, because 2 back in that race behind Hard Love for Mike Maker, it's not noted in the comment line, but he had a lot of traffic in the stretch of that race, and Ricardo Santana couldn't even ride him for about the final 1/8 of a mile. He would have finished in the money that day if he had a clear run, potentially even being right there with Hard Love. And last time out, that was a really tough restricted stakes, that Lure.
Sure was.
Where Flavius, Tell Your Daddy, Value Proposition, Delaware were all in there. And Temple just got the wrong trip. He was 3 wide around both turns. That was a pace that was extremely slow that Flavius set on the front end. Nobody could close, and especially on Temple, who was losing ground around the turn. So I think his form is subtly better than it appears. And I mean, he's won at a variety of distances in the past and has been competitive going as far as 1.5 miles. So I don't think the 1.25 miles is going to be a problem for him, and he's got a much better post position draw for this race.
Yeah, he'd be the 3rd horse in for me. I worry about just an overall tailing off of his form. It just seems to me, and I know if you pick apart those last 2 like you just so eloquently did, I just feel like overall it's been an awful long time since he's won. It's been like 19 months, 18, 17 months since he's won a race, and
he's got to prove he can still do it.
Yeah.
As many excuses as you want to make for a horse, they still have to get back to the winner's circle.
What about Caninos? That race, the 1.25 mile race here at Belmont Park, I thought it was his best race to date. He runs in the 2 mile Belmont Gold Cup after that. He runs into Gufo and Tide of the Sea in the Grand Quartier. Now he gets his Lasix back, and he gets back to doing something he was successful at. 1.25 miles here at Belmont off a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do with him. I think I put him 3rd in this race because he does have those 2 races against tougher company that you can kind of be a little forgiving of. I thought that race 3 back, even though the pace doesn't look that fast, there was a Clement trained horse that was like 30-1 in that race that was setting the pace, whose name is escaping me now. But I think the fact that horse kind of fell apart in the stretch allowed the race to fall apart, and it sort of gave Cananius an opportunity to close. And I wonder if that's going to happen here. Maybe somewhere to remember, if he comes back, it does cause the race to fall apart a little bit, but I trusted Temple's class lines a little more.
All right. Fun feature. Well, flat feature. Anyway, race number 8 today as we wrap the card. All of the tricks, the pick 4, the pick 5, the pick 6, with some maidens in the finale. Going to go 1 mile and a 16th. The state-bred fillies on the grass. Bella Principessa and Mondoose. Here they are finishing 2-3 back at the Spa on August 5th. First off the claim from Mondoose today, Jeffrey Engelhardt dipped in, whereas Bella Principessa still with Rudy Rod.
I mean, it's a really wide open race. These are definitely 2 of the contenders. They're coming out of some decent efforts at Saratoga. I don't think either one's a killer. If, the trips work out, I could see either of them being successful here. Mondoose obviously has that tactical speed where she could be on the lead in this race. And with Luis Saez getting aboard, you'd imagine that's where she's going to find herself early. Bella Principessa has kind of been knocking on the door at this level for a while. She's got a set of speed figures that should make her good enough to be a contender here. It's just she kind of has had her chances at this point, so I wanted to look in some other directions.
All right, so spun for Lulu.
Yeah, I guess you're not supposed to take a horse that kind of woke up at 29-1 when she's coming back at a fraction of that price, and she'll probably be somewhere in the 6 to 8-1 range for this race. But I thought she ran pretty well last time in that race that closed out, I think, the Travers Day card at Saratoga, I want to say. She was wide around both turns, 3 wide around the first turn, made a 4 wide run around the second turn, as where Constitutional Rage, who's also coming out of the race, kind of snuck up the rail around the second turn. And I just thought Spun for Lulu ran really well, and you might say, where did that race come from? Because her one prior turf race was awful. But if you go back and watch that race, something would have missed that day because her rider just basically pulled her up at the top of the stretch. And he's a rider who will protect a horse when he feels like something's not right. So I really just view her as getting on the turf for the first time last time.
Right.
And she ran a really big race there. And I think if she runs back to that effort, she can win, and she'll be a decent price again. Yeah,
I'm using her in all the late wagers, the pick 4 and the pick 5. Exfiltration, Horacio De Paz had a good meet up at Saratoga, and I'm just going to try and ride that wave. This horse ran on turf one time, did not have the cleanest of trips early on. It was a little wide late, got ran a respectable enough fig that puts her right on the money in here, I would think. Especially taking on the older fillies back in May. Now she's got 4 or 5 months more maturity under her belt. Kendrick's aboard. I wanted to give her a little bit of a shot, but I want to close out here with 5 or 6 horses to try to hit this thing.
Yeah, it's a race where you could spread. I mean, Exfiltration, she ran okay last time. That was kind of a blanket finish, and I always shy away a little bit of horses coming out of races where they just all hit the wire together. I typically think those aren't the strongest races. And the comment line taken up early, I thought that was, a pretty inconsequential steady on the backstretch that didn't really affect her position. But, I mean, she's lightly raced enough. She can certainly improve. The other horse to consider is the number 11, Lemon Taffy. I think we've got a stat for Mike Maker, who does a good job all across the board off the claim on the turf, but especially first off the claim on the turf with maidens and turf routes. He's got a nice percentage in ROI, and Lemon Taffy is a horse that actually was with these connections previously, so they're claiming her back off American Cantermasi. So if she can get back to some of her better turf races, she's a contender as well. So just a lot of places to go in this race.
Yeah, a lot of places to wrap up the pick 5, pick 4, pick 6. There's only one place to play them, though, and that's over at Naira Bets. Head on over to nairabets.com to open a brand new account. Promo code is MATCH200. What are you waiting for? Keep the money in the game. Head over to nairabets.com, MATCH200 for a brand new Naira Bets account. Take advantage of this promotion. 20% bonus. Just bet the doubles here on opening week, and you're in 20% bonus on all doubles. Remember, you have to opt in to all of our promotions now, and you opt in over at nairabets.com. And you can catch all of today's action. Belmont Park, Churchill Downs, 2 to 8:30. Fox Sports 2, America's Day at the races. We have the call sheet up here. The Little A, Acacia Courtney. Lafitte's here, Richie Migliori, Paula Duca. Of course, my racing Khaleesi, Maggie Wolfendale's here as well. So the usual suspects, save Mr. Serling, who will be back joining me here tomorrow and on America's Day at the races tomorrow. This was fun, though. It was good seeing you.
Oh, yeah, always great to do this with you. I'm happy to be back on the show today and looking forward to this entire meet of racing at Belmont Park.
The Fall Championship meet, my favorite meet of the year, is upon us. We'll kick it off with the Mirror Man, Frank Ramadi. He's in for Johnny I. Johnny I, we hope you're feeling well. Look forward to seeing you next week. Frank Ramadi up next with a reprise of today's opening day scratches and changes.